right. Can you hear me okay? We're doing okay? Okay. Now I'd like to introduce you a little more formally to Michael, who's been here, Michael Koehn. He has been my co-host throughout this entire journey with all of our previous forums, and tirelessly, he's the one who pulls all the strings behind the scenes to help bring us together, especially for our advisory board meetings. We have these meetings monthly, and we get together and talk about where we're going with our research, and he keeps us all organized because we're like herding cats. We're so busy doing different things, so I do appreciate your patience with all of us. Michael is a recovery counselor, a mental health and cannabis clinician, a grower and a breeder, and a researcher and educator. He's the creator of the Maverick Medical Cannabis Formulary, which is the first of its kind toolkit for supporting lifelong recovery from substance use. And my goodness, if you were to have a definition of empathy, I would say Michael Koehn. Really. He's driven by relentless empathy, and he has a deep commitment to recovery, continues to shape the future of this field. Michael's passion for making real-world change is something I'm fortunate to be a witness every day to. And when I have meetings with him, no matter what's happened beforehand, I always feel so uplifted and inspired, and I just want to keep going on with this work because of him. So he has just got that positive energy that I just thrive to hang around with. So I just want to welcome you so much, Michael, to the stage, because you need to share with us what you've been up to and your powerful insights. And I have to let you know, my students love it when he comes to class to talk. It's like afterwards, I mean, how can I compete afterwards, really? So there you go. Anyway, thank you, Michael. Come on up here.
Oh my, no expectations there. This should be pretty easy for me. I got to say, we're surrounded by a group of just incredible people. Everywhere I look in this world that we work in, there are so many people with great hearts, great minds that are doing their very best to make a difference in a really difficult time. Ask Wellness is a visionary organization led by an absolute OG Maverick in Bob. I got to tell you, if anyone's going to sit in a parking lot with me and we're going to say, you know, we should really do the cannabis thing, and he goes, how about right now? That's exactly the kind of energy and spirit and attention that just shows what incredible people are here. So I got a lot to cover. We're going to do this really quick, so some folks might need to watch the YouTube afterwards, so buckle in. We got a lot to talk about. All right, the Maverick Medical Cannabis Program. How do we do this whole thing? Well, welcome, everybody. I'm so glad you're here, and I'm really thankful that we have an opportunity to gather here at Thompson Rivers University on the unceded territory of the Secwepemc people. Thank you for this opportunity to join here together. All right, so I do some work in industry. I like to twist the arms of folks that are working in cannabis companies, because they are our conduit to get medicines made and into the legal medical cannabis system. So I do a little bit of work, haven't done anything recently, and none of these folks tell me what I should be thinking about or what I'm doing. In fact, quite the opposite. I often challenge the status quo. So myself, I'm a self-taught mental health professional, been working in cannabis for over 20 years. I own a medical cannabis clinic and a mental health agency. And I primarily work with people that have catastrophic injuries who do not recover with traditional or sort of regular ways of doing things. I'm just a regular guy, but honestly, what I care about is that I want to improve our world. I'm a dad. I've got a couple of great kids. My daughter actually crocheted this little pocket frog that's sitting right there. She wanted me to make sure I had that as a support while we were up here. So I want to make sure my kids have a world where when anyone's child is struggling or needs help, that we actually have a program and we have a place like the Maverick where you can be safe, where you can be taken care of. We all got to work together to create that. So I work in creating cannabis-based medicines, and in particular, I'm looking for ways in which we can solve some really challenging problems. Really quickly, we're going to talk about how we designed a new approach to the overdose crisis with our project. I'll talk to you a little bit about the Maverick Medical Cannabis Formulary, which are what I call plants that do jobs, and just kind of a little bit about what we're looking at next beyond our initial study. But first of all, the question is, why cannabis at all? Why look at a new approach? And as we've seen in the statistics that have been presented today, it has never been a more lethal time to be a person who is struggling with addiction and substance use. And through my work with our lived experience panel, I have been taught about the incredible danger of relapse, and that in today's climate, one single experience very likely can and will be the end of a person. And so the real loss of life and harm is present every single day. It's absolutely terrible out there. So what we did beyond when Bob and I met in the parking lot was we said, we're going to need a team. And so very quickly what we did is we reached out to our network of researchers, of doctors, of social agency folks and pharmacists and lived experience experts. And I hope I haven't missed anybody, but it goes on and on. There are so many people who have joined our team that have incredible insights and expertise. And you can imagine all of these folks looking at this problem that we're all faced with a new lens, through many different points of view. And in doing so, we built the Maverick Medical Cannabis Program, the MMCP. So I'll talk a little bit about the design, the intake, the process, and a little bit about the safeguards and mitigation of risks in how we did this work. So first of all, as I said, we have many different people looking at this from many regulated professions, people with different types of experience who can guide us so that when we think of it, when we plan it, when we design this, it's being done in a way that makes sense and is balancing the need to do something with something that would be considered safe. Number one focus in this project and everything we've looked at, you've heard the word before, stability. And in particular, when people are looking for results from recovery interventions, one of the greatest obstacles is that individuals who are using some of the conventional treatments to assist with stability are not having a sufficient result. And therefore, there's a lot of wobbling in folks. They're trying their best. They're holding on really tight. They're using the conventional sorts of tools, and they're struggling immensely. And unfortunately, many people are still having a relapse or having additional pain and suffering and struggles. So our focus, number one, was on stability of symptoms and experience 24/7 with a harm reduction focus. We looked at the risks of cannabis, but we also paid attention to the risks, and I like Dr. Walsh's approach on this, the risks of not cannabis. And so, for example, if we find that we have a tool, but we won't talk about it, we won't use it, we won't do anything with it, well, there's a risk to not using a tool that could be effective. Interestingly enough, our program prioritizes minimally to non-impairing cannabinoids in an oral, long-acting format as the mainstay of treatment. We're not simply looking at the recreational usage of cannabis, which I have nothing against. It's just simply not specific or directed or intentional enough to do jobs. So in our work, it's very specific tools that do jobs. We're did some important things that we do. We're not smoking joints. We're looking at oral therapies and inhalation through vaporization technologies. We made sure that we have ongoing medical and social supports, clinical supports that are all integrated together. So individuals aren't simply given cannabis and good luck. They're given cannabis and they're fully wraparound supported. So in addition to that, we said, we're doing something new and different. We better make sure we have some great folks from universities that are going to follow us, that are going to study this work and ensure that we are able to do what we're doing today. So the design of the intervention took a little bit of time. In there, people wonder, well, how do you work through this process? Well, first of all, patients and participants in this program are established in conventional treatment therapies and modalities prior to entering into an experimental condition, such as the one that's here. So in order to balance off the needs to try something new with what is established and what is proven to have some success and efficacy, people, first of all, would go through traditional programming, which the Maverick system and Ask Wellness would provide. If individuals were going to be considered for this program, they have an intake process from Ask, they have an intake process from the CannSolve clinic. And so both intakes provide an opportunity for different points of view to assess the suitability of a person for the program. And if they are deemed to be appropriate, then they are given a medical consultation with Dr. Mitchell, who you've heard speak here today, and ongoing weekly clinical support education that's been designed by a doctor and a clinician, myself, Dr. Carolyn McCallum, partnered with me on that. And we have this ongoing support service where people, again, are not simply given cannabis, they have wraparound continuous supports. Okay, and in addition to that, we would have people that would have all of their medical cannabis supplies provided for them at no cost whatsoever to the participants. Now, some of the safeguards and mitigation, as I mentioned, this is an evidence-based world that we're working in. So since we're doing something experimental, it was important we started with conventional. We then use medical cannabis as what's called an adjunctive or in addition to therapy. We have a double intake process, as I mentioned before, and all of that education is provided by people who know a lot about the type of work that we're talking about, so physician and clinician-led support. And ongoing assistance and support. Anybody who has adverse reactions or has any issues which are surprisingly uncommon, we have physician support access and follow-up available to all participants in the program. So let's talk a little bit about a formulary, plants that do jobs. Well, right away when I say the word jobs, what do I mean, jobs? Well, it's interesting, but when we look at the literature to find out, well, what is it that patients are actually looking for, I think as you read that list there, you can see that there's an awful lot of common things that a lot of people, not just folks in recovery, but a lot of people would be interested in getting support services for. So medical cannabis contrasted with recreational cannabis is intentional and it's goal-driven. We are attempting to address those specific needs of patients. So whether it's I'm looking to improve my quality of life, I need stability, I need symptom stability, I'm struggling with sleep or pain or mental health or trauma, we are specifically targeting the tools that we do to enhance a person's ability to treat those symptoms. In our particular formulary as well, we are working with a new class of cannabinoids up here in the raw sort of section up here, as opposed to what a lot of people know, which is sort of in the heated or aged. Maybe for folks that don't know a lot about the chemistry of cannabis, it's important to note that the raw plant actually contains different compounds than what you do when you roll it in a joint, light it on fire, and inhale it. The fire chemically converts the cannabis from the raw format at the top to what's called the heated or aged aspects of the cannabinoids. And so in our work, I want to be clear that our primary mainstay of therapy is all up in the raw category, which means it's entire whole plant medicine. And so what's interesting is that these patients were reporting that they were having significant improvements using non-impairing cannabis tools, including what we call the acid forms of cannabinoids. And raw cannabis has over 500 different compounds, many of which we still do not fully understand. But this is more so what a raw cannabis shake looks like. Actually, that's me holding one up there. I actually drank that. It's feels great, by the way, but it's very green. So we work from the raw whole plant, and in doing so, allow nature to be nature. And what's really interesting is then I grew over the last 7 or 8 years specific plants to do specific jobs and built a toolkit that we call the M series cultivars, which is in honoring of the Maverick where everything started. And so here we have our M1, M2, and M3 cultivars. And don't worry about all the details on those, but every one of those plants is specifically harnessed to do specific jobs. Now, at the end of the day, when you use any intervention, there is a simple 3-part test that you can ask any patient, cut through the noise, and immediately get to what's working, what's not. And we call this the 3 yes rule. It comes from a colleague of ours, Dr. Carolyn McCallum, did a paper in 2018 with Dr. Ethan Russo, where they identified 3 things. If you go to a patient and a patient says yes to these 3, improvements in symptom control, improvements in function, improvements in quality of life, chances are that's a therapy you want to keep. If it's yoga that does that, keep the yoga. If it's cannabis, it's cannabis. It does the job and gets the results. And so we went and decided to match the treatment to the need. So 24/7 care or as needed. Turns out, in our work, both matter tremendously. We have chronic conditions that require a 24-hour, round-the-clock support, and that's in our oral therapies and our oils that we've developed. And then we also have an inhalation component that allows for people to, on demand, in the moment, take control of things such as cravings, acute symptoms, and allow themselves to maintain that stability. And so, in doing so, we were able to generate a uncommon result and outcome. And I'm really grateful that the next speaker who's going to come up is actually going to take you right through the paper and the observations and the findings of our first phase of our research. So I'll leave that to Chris to discuss that. But suffice to say, at the end of the day, this particular program has offered new opportunities to treat some of the most stubborn symptom clusters, the most treatment-resistant symptoms that individuals who are working through a recovery journey are faced with. And in doing so, when you can create consistent stability, as we've heard, from there, people will go on to move and evolve from the current stage that they're at through to better health, better education, better housing, better opportunities, and that autonomy that comes from having reclaimed your life from substance use to now have your own. And that has been my greatest honor, and what just gets me so pumped about this work and why I just can't stop talking about it is because of the people that you're going to see at the end of our talk here today. These are the individuals I have such tremendous respect for. They are my teachers, and they are the people that are driving this research. They are the scientists and the people that are creating the answers. Incredibly grateful to them, every one of the folks in the Maverick program and Ask Wellness for hosting this intervention and being so bold and brave to try something new and different. And so since our first study was quite successful, we're now looking at our Maverick study, phase 2. And we're particularly excited in this next one to focus on increasing our study size, increasing the diversity of individuals who are in there, the duration of the program so we can have more time to study the people that are going through the program. We want to make this available to more people, with a goal of eventually making this therapy available to all who need it. And we'd like to also encourage more cooperation between all the different agencies that are stakeholders in this work, because now that we have a new and exciting area to research and work together, we got a lot of stakeholders to update, a lot of folks to inform and get on board with the work that we're doing here. So I'm incredibly excited to be a part of this work. I can't wait to see where we go next with it. And I just want to say thank you so much to the entire Maverick team. You guys matter, and you just mean the world to me. So thank you for everything you're doing, and I just appreciate you so much. Thank you.
This is exactly what happens when he comes to my class. Everybody claps afterwards, and then it's like, oh, Florian's back up. And you're just so passionate. I just love it. Well,